You're not lazy, you're just waiting for a version of ready that doesn't exist, sitting there staring at everything you need to do while your brain throws up every possible reason why now isn't the right time. And those first 5 minutes of paralysis are where you lose the entire day, where the gap between knowing and doing becomes so wide that you convince yourself you're fundamentally broken. The task isn't hard. You know exactly what needs to happen. You've done it 1,000 times before. But right now, in this moment, your brain is treating it like a threat. Like starting means committing to something your nervous system has decided is dangerous. So it floods you with resistance disguised as rational thought. You tell yourself you need to be in the right headspace. You need more clarity. You need to finish this other thing first. You need to check your phone one more time. You need coffee. You need silence, you need music, you need anything except to just start. And every second you spend negotiating with yourself is another second you're reinforcing the neural pathway that says starting is optional. The intelligence that makes you good at your work is the same intelligence that's destroying your ability to begin it. Because smart people are dangerously good at building sophisticated justifications for avoidance, at creating elaborate mental frameworks that make procrastination look like strategy. You're stuck because you're thinking about doing instead of doing, and thinking about doing activates your prefrontal cortex, which immediately starts calculating effort, predicting failure, measuring your current state against some imagined standard of readiness, and all of that computation generates anxiety, which your brain interprets as a signal to avoid. The first 5 minutes when you're stuck aren't about motivation or willpower or finding the perfect conditions. They're about bypassing your brain's threat detection system entirely by moving your body before your mind has time to build the case against it. Your brain doesn't distinguish between actual threats and the discomfort of starting something difficult. It just knows that thinking about the task generates a stress response, and its job is to move you away from stress, so it will keep you locked in planning, preparing, optimizing anything except the actual execution that would end the stress. The hack isn't to fight this system, it's to trick it by making the first action so small and so stupid that your threat detector doesn't even register it as significant. Sit at your desk, that's it. That's the entire first move. Not sitting at your desk to work, just sitting. No commitment beyond occupying the physical space where work happens, because your brain can handle sitting. Sitting isn't threatening. Sitting doesn't trigger the cascade of resistance. Once you're sitting, open the document, not to write, not to edit, not to create, just open it. Let it exist on your screen. Let your eyes see the space where work could happen. And this might feel ridiculous, it might feel like you're playing games with yourself, but that's exactly what you're doing. You're gaming the system that's been gaming you. After opening the document, type one word, literally one word. It doesn't matter what word, it doesn't matter if it's the right word, it doesn't matter if you immediately delete it. The act of typing breaks the seal between paralysis and motion. And motion is the only thing that generates motivation, not the other way around. You've been sold this lie that you need to feel motivated before you act. But motivation is a result of action. It's the neurochemical reward your brain gives you for moving, and you can't access it by thinking or planning or waiting. You can only access it by doing literally anything related to the task. The reason the first 5 minutes are crucial is because that's when your brain is deciding whether to commit resources to this activity or to keep you in avoidance mode. And every micro-action you take is a vote for commitment. Every word typed, every file opened, every breath taken while sitting in the workspace is evidence that this isn't actually dangerous, that you're surviving it, that the threat your brain predicted isn't materializing. Most productivity advice tells you to break tasks into smaller pieces, but that's still too cognitive. You're still in your head evaluating the pieces. What you need is to break the starting process into actions so small they're beneath your brain's threshold for resistance. Don't write the email, open your email client. Don't open your email client to write. Just open it, let it load, watch the inbox appear. That's action, that's motion, that counts. Don't plan your workout, put on one shoe, just one, stand there with one shoe on like an idiot. Let your brain realize that you're already partway into the thing it was trying to protect you from, and watch how much easier it becomes to put on the second shoe once the first one is already on. The paralysis you feel isn't about the task being objectively difficult, it's about your brain catastrophizing the amount of effort required and then using that catastrophe as justification to avoid starting. But once you start, once you're actually in motion, the catastrophe evaporates because you're no longer imagining the effort. You're experiencing it, and experiencing it is always less overwhelming than imagining it. Your brain is trying to protect you from a future that doesn't exist by keeping you stuck in a present that's slowly destroying your self-trust. And the only way to break this cycle is to prove to your brain through action that starting isn't fatal, that you can handle 5 minutes, that you can type one word, that you can sit in the chair. The shame you feel about being stuck is making the stuckness worse because shame activates the same threat response that created the paralysis in the first place. So now you're stuck and you're ashamed of being stuck, and your brain is treating both the task and the shame as threats, doubling the resistance. Stop making it mean something about your character, about your worth, about your future. You're stuck because your nervous system is doing exactly what it evolved to do, protect you from discomfort, and you're going to override it, not by feeling different, but by moving differently. In the first 5 minutes, your only job is to reduce the gap between where you are and where the work happens. Not to do the work, not to do it well. Not to do it completely, just to reduce the distance. If you're on the couch, stand up. If you're standing, walk to the desk. If you're at the desk, touch the keyboard. Every physical movement is a micro-commitment that makes the next movement easier. Your brain responds to behavior, not to intention, so you can't think your way out of this. You can't convince yourself to feel motivated. You can only act your way into a state where motivation becomes available. The first 5 minutes aren't about output. They're about proving to yourself that you can override the paralysis. That you're not completely at the mercy of your resistance, that you have some small amount of agency even when everything feels impossible. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Commit only to those 5 minutes. Tell yourself you can stop after that. And you probably won't stop because once you're in motion, once you've bypassed the startup cost, continuing is easier than stopping. But even if you do stop, you've still won. You've still proven that starting is possible. The people who look productive aren't doing some fundamentally different thing. They're just better at getting themselves to start without needing permission from their feelings. They've learned that the 5 minutes of discomfort at the beginning is the price of admission to everything else. You keep waiting for a day when starting will feel easy, when you'll wake up motivated and ready, but that day isn't coming. What's coming is tomorrow. And you get to choose whether tomorrow looks like today, stuck and ashamed and wasting hours in paralysis, or whether you use these next 5 minutes to prove that you can move even when you don't want to. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being functional. It's about doing the bare minimum to keep the promise you made to yourself. And the bare minimum is one word, one action, one micro movement toward the thing you said you'd do. Stop thinking about the whole project. Stop imagining all the steps. Stop trying to feel ready and just move your body into position, open the thing, touch the thing, exist in proximity to the thing, and let your nervous system realize that it's not dying, that starting isn't the catastrophe it predicted, that you can handle 5 minutes of discomfort. The version of you that does things isn't a different person with different feelings. It's the same you making a different choice in the first 5 minutes. Choosing motion over analysis, choosing action over readiness, choosing to start badly over not starting at all.